am 25F and have an older sister, Kate 30F. She and I were never close due to our age difference and because she hated that our dad married my mom and had me after divorcing her mother. Kate claims dad told her he never loved her mother and that my mom was his true love, that our dad always compared the two of us and asked her why she has to be a difficult child and that overall dad loved me more. On the other hand, dad claims nothing she says is true, that she was very problematic and insolent. These claims are backed up by my mother and dad's parents, so I assume Kate was never 100% honest. Anyways, these are their problems that do not concern me. Some time ago Kate reached out to me and told me she got engaged. I said congrats and everything. She told me she has a favor to ask. She told me her mother-in-law is very family-oriented and it does not sit well with her that Kate is estranged from her family. In her words, future mother-in-law considered something is also wrong with Kate and she is also to blame for being no contact with her family, fearing Kate will also influence her son to do the same thing. What Kate wanted from me was for me to meet her in-laws for them to see she does not hate her family. I joked that future mother-in-law sounds a little insane and I agreed to help her because at the end of the day I never hated her and I don't think she hated me neither. The fact we are not close does not mean we hate each other or want bad things to happen to the other one. Anyways, I went to meet Kate, her future husband and her mother-in-law and father-in-law at a restaurant. They are very nice people and very warm. At some point mother-in-law said something along the lines that she is happy to see that the abuse we suffered did not affect our sisterly bond. I was confused and asked what abuse is she talking about while Kate tried to change the subject. Mother-in-law says it's okay, I have nothing to be ashamed of and that she knows from Kate our parents abused us while growing up. I clarified that this is not true, we were never abused by our parents or anyone in our family, we were raised in a very loving family, we were never hit or spanked no matter what we did, our parents are well off so we always had everything that we wanted, clothes, phones, laptops, cars etc. Mother-in-law got very angry. She apologized to me and started insulting my sister. She called her a liar, accused her of being manipulative and trying to insert herself into their family by being dishonest. What happens is that Kate accused our parents of many things that are not true. Now Kate is accusing me of ruining her life. She says her engagement is over, the in-laws hate her and her fiancé does not trust her anymore. The thing is I don't think I did anything wrong. I cannot sit and hear people blasting my parents for her lies and for things that never happened. But still. Comment 1. If you asked my sister if we were abused, she'd answer no. The fact is that two siblings can have wildly different childhoods within the same household. My sister is the golden child who needs to be handled delicately and saved regularly. I'm the independent child who's magically supposed to save everyone and take all the shit. Your sister was either lying or she was stupid. I would never ask my sister to vouch for my reality because I know she doesn't share it. Comment 2. I'd be careful before calling her a liar. I grew up in a very physically and mentally abusive household, but my sibling has selectively forgotten all the abuse because their psyche could not handle it. I'm sure they will need to deal with it later in life, but for now, I have to carry that burden alone. I'm not saying this situation is the same, but it's worth considering. Comment 3. While you did the right thing by speaking up, it's also understandable that Kate might feel hurt or betrayed in this situation. It seems like she's been carrying a lot of unresolved feelings for a long time, and while her actions were wrong, it's possible that she was seeking validation. Regardless, you shouldn't have to protect lies, and you were truthful in a tough situation. I went on 4 to 5 dates with this guy I met on Hinge. We hit it off really well at first, he was funny and smart, and our conversation would go for hours on end. For preface, I'm Chinese and he's white. During the first 1 to 3 dates, he would make off-handed racist remarks about Asian people, i.e. Chinese people eating dog, Thailand have ladyboys, etc., but he was obsessed with Japan, insane, I know. He loves everything Japan, the food, the language, the culture, and thinks of himself as an awesome samurai warrior just because he took a single samurai class in Japan. I brushed off the first 2 to 3 comments because he seemed really nervous and babble, and I wasn't sure if I was going crazy because he'd immediately move on to another joke. I have told him in all seriousness I didn't find these jokes funny, and he'd apologize and say he'd never do it again. Well, today, he made another off-handed remark, like it just slips out of him, and I had enough. I said I finished my meal and was ready to go home, which he didn't mind because we'd been at the place for 3 hours at that point. I drove back home and he sent up a follow-up message that it was nice seeing me blah blah. I told him I wasn't interested in him anymore, and he was surprised given we had held hands and kissed on the 3rd date. I think as a girl, I tend to come off as being interested or welcoming by laughing and still interacting with him despite it all. So he was surprised by my sudden rejection, and I told him the truth. I laid it on thick. I told him he was an racist who needs a reality check and should stop fetishizing Japan because no normal Asian woman would ever date you, and the TikToks you keep spamming me were annoying and not funny at all. Leave me alone. He blocked me afterwards, and when I told my friends about what happened, they said I was such an asshole in the way I acted, by giving him signals I was interested, and the way I texted him that rejection, but I don't think I am. Comment 1. NTA. As an American with both Japanese and Chinese ancestry, I no longer just ghost people for making negative comments about race. I call them out first. Some truly are ignorant and haven't learned why what they're saying is racist or problematic. If I can educate those people, that's great. However, I am not deluded enough to think that they can all be educated. With the folks who are just plain racist and showing their true colors, I still call them out in the hopes that if they get negative feedback enough times, they'll at least consider just shutting their mouths when they think of saying something racist. Comment 2. NTA. He was dropping racist comments and acting like a weeb, and then surprised you dumped him. He needed a reality check, and you gave him one. He ignored you when you said his jokes weren't funny, so he got the harsh truth. He blocked you? Good riddance. Our friends are tripping. You didn't give him mixed signals, you gave him chances he didn't deserve. He played himself. Comment 3. But you were interested, until you weren't. The moment you decide you weren't interested anymore, you told him so. No leading on, no mixed signals. NTA, you were honest and direct. A better person than him would take this opportunity to better himself. Story 3. A bit more than a month ago my now ex broke up with me out of the blue. I don't want to go into the details of the relationship or the breakup, but we had been talking about marriage before the breakup. We had settled on the wedding bands and an engagement ring. I am by no means well off and arguably live paycheck to paycheck, but I manage to always pay my bills, save money, and budget money for fun, concerts, fancy dinners, trips to Ren fairs/cons/rallies, random events, etc. While still doing all this, I managed to put aside several thousand for the engagement ring she wanted. After the breakup, I decided to spend that money on myself. I bought myself my favorite bourbon, a case of my favorite cigars, and finally finish a large tattoo sleeve I've been having worked on for 2 years. The issue came when I started casually seeing a young woman, let's call her D. I knew D before I met my ex, but we were more acquaintances than anything else just due to life stuff, and honestly because I only had eyes for my now ex from the moment I first met her, but we knew enough about each other that she was familiar with the fact that I'm not one to just casually throw money around. Since this money wasn't budgeted for anything, well, not since the breakup, and let's be honest, I'm heartbroken, I've been a lot more willing to just say fuck it and spend money. Tonight I met Dee for dinner and drinks, and during the drinks part of the evening she noticed my fresh ink and jokingly asked me if I had gotten promoted or hit the lottery. When I explained to her where this money had come from, she got real serious and told me that spending it like that was disrespectful. That I had saved that money for something beautiful, and by wasting it proves I never cared about my ex. Dee ended up leaving me at the bar, where I am currently typing this up, because she was upset with me. Maybe it's the fantastic cocktails blurring my judgment, but am I the asshole for spending my money? Comment 1, OMG no NTA. Dee is clearly bat crap crazy. It's your money, darling, go to Disney and fly first class if you like. Now, that being said, If you're broke and barely surviving, maybe use most of it for life, but yes, go have some fun and spend it on whatever you want. Comment 2. NTA, but maybe take some time for yourself to grieve the relationship. It was your money to spend however you want, and I hope that the things you're spending it on will give you joy and wonderful memories. Not sure what Dee's deal is and she's entitled to her opinion, but it sure sounds like she might have been interested in your money. Comment 3. Dude, seriously? You saved that money, it's ours. You ain't disrespecting anyone by spending it how you want. Dee's acting like you owe her an explanation, and you don't. You're dealing with a breakup, and getting a tattoo and some booze is way healthier than, setting her ex's car on fire. She needs to chill and mind her own business. And honestly, if she's gonna bail on you over this, she ain't worth her time anyway. Story 4, my 32M friend Emma got married last weekend. I was excited to attend, but when the invites went out, I noticed I wasn't given A+1. I've been with my boyfriend, 30M, for almost 2 years, and he's met Emma multiple times. They've always gotten along fine, or so I thought. When I asked Emma about it, she said it was a budget thing and only married couples were getting +1s. I was a little hurt, but I didn't argue. I figured it was her wedding, her rules. But when I got to the wedding, I immediately noticed that several people, including some who weren't even in relationships, had brought dates. I tried not to let it bother me, but throughout the night, people kept asking where my boyfriend was, since they assumed he'd be there. It was awkward. Later, I found out from a mutual friend that Emma had deliberately not invited my boyfriend because she couldn't stand how perfect he was. WTF? Apparently, she'd made comments before about how he was too charming and how it made her feel like her now husband looked bad in comparison. I was shocked. My boyfriend is just a genuinely nice guy who's always polite and friendly. After the dinner and speeches, I felt so uncomfortable that I decided to quietly leave rather than stay for the dancing. I sent Emma a quick congratulatory text and left. The next day, Emma texted me, furious that I left early without saying goodbye. I told her I knew the real reason my boyfriend wasn't invited and that I didn't feel welcome. She said I was making her day about me and that I was overreacting and that she just didn't want my boyfriend to take the spotlight at her wedding. Comment 1. NTA. Your friend is allowed to not invite anyone she would like to exclude from her nuptials. She is not, however, allowed to excuse herself from the reactions she yields from her decision. Comment 2. Emma was talking rubbish. You left after sending her a text that wasn't you making anything about you, you quietly slipped away. If you'd have confronted her during the reception, had words and fell out, that might have been you making it about you, but you didn't do that, so she'd no right to say that. I think she felt guilty for leaving your boyfriend out but tried to turn the tables on you, to try to put the blame on you for what she'd done, more like. Comment 3. NTA. Doesn't matter if he was too perfect or if it was for homophobia reasons, she flat out lied to you. Just flat out lied to someone that is supposed to be a friend. Nope, I would have left the minute I realized that. And taken my gift right back out to the car with me. My friends don't lie to me. I'm not sure what she's thinking, but I am sure she's not your friend. My father wasn't in my 21F life growing up. He left mom and me when I was 2 and refused to pay child support. He quit his job when he was tracked down for support and he spent time in jail rather than pay. Eventually mom stopped fighting because it was going nowhere. She felt like it was wasting resources chasing after him when it was obvious he was going to avoid it however he could. A couple of years ago he moved about an hour away and I saw him for the first time since a court appearance when I was 8. We didn't speak either of those times, but it surprised me that he came back. I found out he was married and had more kids from my paternal aunt. He'd reached out to her and wanted to reconnect and she told him where to go. She was always pretty disgusted he walked away like he did and refused to support me financially. In December, my aunt told me he went to her house and left something for me there. I asked her what it was and she had no idea, but she said it was in an envelope. I opened it and it was a check. And it was a big one too. I tried giving it to my mom, but she told me to keep it and he owed me. That he abandoned me. And it was the least I deserved. I tried telling her she deserved it more, but she wouldn't even entertain the idea. So after confirming it was legit, I lodged it into my account. Then his wife came looking for the money by going to my aunt's house for me. My aunt made her leave and I wasn't even there, but she showed up a few days later when I was there and she demanded the money. She said it was money that was meant to go on her kids. That he had no right to drain their accounts for me. I told her it wasn't my problem and my aunt threatened to call the cops. She showed up at my aunt's house again a few days after and my aunt followed through and called the cops. But apparently this woman left the message that I was selfish and entitled and I stole it from her kids.